Awesome. Thank you so much. We're so excited to be here today. Again, I'm Chef Brianne. This is Chef Isla, and today we're going to be taking you through a recipe with us. Chef Isla has been with me for 3 years now. So I met Isla first year. I would say camp was a little inspired by her parents. Isla lives super close by to Nella Cucina. And so maybe the first year was a little inspired by her parents. However, every year since, Isla has been definitely, this is something she wants to be a part of, and we love having her back. Actually, her brother is going to be joining us as well soon, so she's going to be getting him cooking in the kitchen, which is going to be great. We've got some festive kids cooking camps coming up in December, so that's something to check out if you've got little ones and you are in the area. By all means, come and check us out. It'll be a lot of fun. Mealtime has been slightly kind of revisited, I feel like, over the past 2 years. We've kind of, everyone lived very busy lives pre-COVID, and we've kind of been forced to get back into cooking a little bit more now. And to be honest, I'm pretty happy about it. I'm happy to see people in the kitchen. I'm happy to see people taking on recipes maybe they wouldn't have had the time to do before. And some of my most cherished memories in the past 2 years have been spent with family and friends and spending some time in the kitchen. I mean, from, teaching my mom how to make salad dressing and teaching my dad how to make a bechamel sauce. My partner and I, we love to cook together. He builds and designs kitchens for a living. And then, I come home as a chef, and we love to be in the kitchen together. So cooking is something that even after a full day's work for me, I will go home and happily cook myself a meal. So to share this with family and friends, and to now be cooking next to Chef Isla, it's really an honor to just be here today and be doing this. The journey to get here today was definitely not easy. I've spent, a lot of time in and out of different kitchens and various environments. However, looking back, I'm very proud of where I am today. And I think, especially now as I'm getting older, realizing how much these experiences have built who I am today, what I love to cook, and what I love to share. It's a lot of fun. So Isla, you love to cook, you love to bake especially, and you come from your family's very diverse. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your family.
Okay. Hi, I'm Isla. So on my dad's side, he's Scottish and also lives in England. And then on my mom's side, she is Israeli, but my grandparents are Ukrainian. So my dad, he cooks a bit more. So I have more foods from his side, but I do have some foods that I really like from my mom's side.
And you had a recipe you were talking about that your grandma makes as well.
Yeah.
That's it was a drop biscuit recipe.
Yeah, it's like an apple drop scone recipe. And I remember the last time I went to Israel to visit her, I remember she made those and I really liked them.
Oh, that's sweet. And tell us about what we're going to be making today. This is like your favorite recipe that we cooked in camp this past year. Mm-hmm. Tell us what we're going to be making today.
Okay, so we're going to be making poke bowls with salmon. And I really like this recipe because I feel like you can do whatever you like, what you like with it. You can put what you don't like, take it off, and put what you do like on top of it, and you can really make it what you like.
Yeah, so this recipe is totally flexible. I mean, whether you're vegetarian, pescatarian, it's very, very easy to adapt the ingredients. We've picked some of our favorite ingredients to put on the poke bowl today, and we're even going to get a little molecular with you guys as well. And we're going to be making a carrot caviar as well. So this is something that we are going to be using tobiko in our recipe today, which are really tiny little baby fish eggs. But the nice thing about that is if you don't use those, this carrot caviar is a great substitute because we use sodium alginate, which is derived from seaweed extract. So it's going to form little gelatinous carrot balls that we're going to use as a garnish, and it's going to really bring some color to our recipe. So basically, to get started, we've got a beautiful piece of salmon here today. So I've got some salmon, and we've also got some tofu. Now, I didn't cover too much on tofu in camp because we always take into consideration dietary restrictions and allergies when we're doing our classes, and that was actually pretty sweet. We didn't really have any allergies. Like we used peanuts, we were able to use fish, meat. I mean, it was awesome. So we kind of use everything. But today I definitely wanted to show the alternative as well as being able to do that. So Isla's going to dice up some tofu, and I'm going to basically take this piece of fish. It's a beautiful fish. And again, you could use tuna. You could even use shrimp if you didn't want to use any raw fish. I mean, you totally could do that. And we're both just looking to cube it. So I have to skin mine. And basically what I do when I skin the fish is I just kind of get under. You can definitely need a sharp knife for this as well. And this is amazing to see Chef Isla as well. Super comfortable with the knife. spending all this time with me. I'm like, I know that standing beside me today, I'm like, got good hands. She's gonna keep me on track with my recipes. So I'm just looking to take the skin off of this fish. Beautiful. Just like that. Oh, I missed a tiny little piece on the back there. That's okay. And just take that off there. And then we're just gonna dice this up. And you can take, if you get any a little bit of that back there, you can take it off just to make it look beautiful. Perfect. And you said you like salmon the best, right? Over tofu, yeah.
Yeah, I prefer salmon because I feel like tofu can get a little bit bland sometimes. If you add the right things to make it.
Yeah, and we're gonna show you guys how to make it more flavorful, which is gonna make a huge difference as well. All right, and we're just gonna dice this down into some beautiful little pieces. I just want it to be like bite-sized, right? They're like comfortable, you know, to eat them in one bite. And there's so much stuff going into this recipe, so you kind of want everything to be in different, fun, different shapes. And I mean, again, like have some fun with it. There's no pressure. You want to have fun. Make it delicious. So we're going to be marinating this today, and both actually, we're going to sear the tofu, kind of take the edge off of it a little bit. And I've got some pet bowls for us there, so you can grab one of those and just throw that in there. And then you're going to I'm going to preheat this pan for you. Having like everything prepped too is like so key when you are cooking, making sure everything is like ready to go, having everything prepped. I mean, having prep bowls, all of this stuff is so, so important. Awesome. I'm just going to get rid of my board. You can keep yours, but I'm going to get rid of mine because I did cut fish on it. So I'm just going to sneak behind you, sharp behind. And the tofu, we're going to sear it over some oil there. I think there's oil there. Just give it a nice drizzle in there. Yeah, wherever you want. This is your kitchen today. Perfect. So we're just going to put a little oil in a fry pan over here, and we'll bring that up to show you as well. We're using vegetable oil to sear the tofu. We are using a non-stick pan, so we want to make sure we're using a pretty neutral oil as well. In a non-stick pan, it's best to stick to neutral oils if you can. Sorry, Chef Ali, may I have another cutting board? We've also got, you know, someone in the background to make sure everything goes smooth for us as well. Takes a team. And I think that's it too. When we're cooking at home, like, does your brother ever help you in the kitchen?
Yeah. So usually when I'm cooking, it's me and my dad cooking together.
Yeah.
Sometimes my brother will come in, especially if we're making something sweet. That's what he likes to eat more.
He likes all the sweet stuff?
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. I feel like, especially the young boys, they've got a little bit of a sweet tooth.
Yeah.
So in the fish marinade, I've got tobiko here, which is awesome. These are like the little fish eggs that we're going to be using. And then as well in our marinade, why don't you tell them what we've got in our marinade here? So we've got,
we have tobiko, soy sauce, sesame oil, and sriracha.
Yeah.
And we've mixed it together.
You got it. So I always have lots of spoons really handy. So I'll give one to you, and I'll take the tobiko into mine. And we're just going to stir this together. And that's just give it a smell. You can smell that sesame?
Yeah.
The toasted sesame oil is like so, so, so good. And we're not going to dump all of it in. We're going to reserve. So I think we're reserving a third of it, right?
Yeah.
So just kind of eyeball it. I mean, what you want to throw in. So I'm going to throw in, just reserve a little bit because we're going to save some of that as well for after. Great question. So I see we have a question there about using a neutral oil in a pan. For non-stick pans especially, they're not really designed for searing. I mean, if I'm gonna like sear something, I'll use cast iron, but for the tofu, I really don't want it to stick, and I'm just looking to get a light sear on it. So typically if you're searing, that's where you want to like look at using your cast iron pan, your stainless steel pan. Those are where you're going to get like great heat from and really get a good sear on. Whereas your non-stick pans are better for like medium searing, I mean eggs, pancakes, all of those type of things as well. All right, so we're just going to mix that all together. Perfect. Now I'm going to put mine in the fridge. However, you on the other hand, we're going to sear yours. Yeah. I love what the fish eggs do to this one. And I mean, the carrot caviar is just going to bring some really nice color as well to this dish. And it's going to kind of complement the color of salmon that we've got as well. Awesome. Thanks, Chef Ali. Perfect. All right. So I've got that all marinated there. Let's check it out. So I always say, like, one good thing, if you're like never sure if your pan's ready or not, take one piece and just kind of drop it in and see if you're starting to get a sear yet. And we don't want to overcrowd the pan either when we're cooking. We want to make sure that, you know, we can cook in batches. We've got time, there's no rush. And that's why too, like having things prepped and ready, whatever you can do the night before or even a couple days ahead, that is going to save you. It's going to help you when you get home at night and you're looking to get your dinner ready. I mean, having maybe the tofu was marinated well in advance, maybe you've got your ingredients already chopped up, all good things to keep in mind. So you can start putting some pieces in the pan there. And as they get cooked too, if you're like cooking in batches, always having another dish nearby so that as you cook them, you've got other things ready for you. Perfect. Awesome. It was really cool when we made poke bowls with the students at camp because everybody had such different dishes. I remember I posted on Nella's social that day and I was so impressed. Everybody cut things in different ways. It was just so nice to see everyone's creative aspect come out, and that's something you could do with your family too. Kind of like how you do taco night where you like lay out all the different ingredients. You could kind of do the same with poke bowls. Maybe you prepped the cucumber, the cabbage, maybe you've got cherry tomatoes or peppers or pickled onions, or, you know, there's so many things that you could lay out, and then you base it with the rice and some greens, and then everyone can build their own from there, whether they're tofu or fish or cooked shrimp. There's so many options. Sounds like we've got a pretty good sear going on there. Yeah. Nice. So we're just looking to brown those ever so slightly. Nothing too crazy. I found the cutest cabbage I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I've cut a lot of cabbage in my life. Let's be serious. This is the cutest one I've ever seen. Something I like to do with cabbage is I like to, when I shred it, it's actually massage it with a bit of salt. And do you think you know what it does?
Maybe it like softens it or something.
Because
cabbage is pretty hard.
You got it. That's exactly what it does. Is it helps to soften it. So what happens when we pull the moisture out from the cabbage? So the salt is going to pull the water from the cabbage. It's just going to help to soften it so that you don't have this like stiff cabbage kind of sticking up. You've got nice cabbage that's, you know, easier to pick up with your fork because it's going to be a little bit more tender. Now we will have to use some knife skills for this, but I'm just going to peel back some layers here first. And then once it gets hard to peel, like I'll show you kind of like how I always like to show. Question for Isla. Love it.
Okay, so question for Isla. Are you hoping to be a chef in a restaurant someday, or how do you want to apply the cooking skills you've learned?
Being a chef, it's not really something that I've considered before, but I really like cooking for other people, like my friends, my family, people who are a bit more closer to me.
Yeah. Hey, and you know what? Being a good host is a wonderful thing. A wonderful thing. So there is a lot of people out there who I know who put on a pretty good spread when I go over, and it's like, ooh, I get to go to their house tonight. Yes. It's nice. It's fun. And I'm sure with your love for baking, people will be like, what's Isla bringing this time? Have any of your friends tried your grandma's drop biscuit recipe?
No, it's just people in my family.
Yeah. Have you tried making them yourself yet?
I think my dad has made them, and I haven't at home. And I made something a bit more recently where I poured an apple and I had like the apple browns. I made a pancake out of that. So it was like an apple pancake. But I haven't made that actual Johnson recipe.
Did you see we're making apple pie pancakes in camp?
Oh yeah.
I'm excited for that. We're gonna be making like cinnamon buns and apple pie pancakes, making gingerbread. It's gonna be awesome. Oh, I'm just gonna grab myself a knife. Oh, Chef Ali's gonna grab me a knife. She's a gem. So I'm basically, one thing that I like to do we're going to do a chiffonade, and a chiffonade is basically just like taking, chiffonade is basically just taking like layers of things together and rolling them up, just kind of like a little cigar. That's what it looks like. And then always I say, like, keep this claw motion in mind when you're chopping, because your knuckles are going to be your guide. So when you're chopping that, your knuckles are always in control of where your knife is. And especially when we're teaching younger, whether it's family, friends, students, how to cook, I always want to see them making sure they're tuck that thumb in, use their knuckles as their guide. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here while Isla's cooking the tofu, is just kind of make sure I've got good control over my knife and my blade. And I'm just gonna try and get it as thin as I possibly can. And I like using purple cabbage. I mean, if you can't find it, by all means, Napa cabbage is great. But the purple for me just brings out a beautiful color to the dish that I really like. Oh, do you get a little splashback?
Yeah.
So that's one thing when you're marinating as well, right? It is a little bit wet, the marinade we put on. So that's another reason why you don't want to use a crazy high temperature, because the spitting that you'd be getting from it would be a lot. So just to be cautious of that as well, it's good to try and be a little neutral with it. Not crazy, crazy heat. Awesome. That looks so good. Do you guys ever eat tofu at home?
Yeah, I make like some things with tofu. Like I seared it up and put it in like the sauce before. We don't have it very often.
Yeah.
We have it sometimes.
Nice. Things that's nice, like, you know, I think plant-based eating is becoming more and more common, and I think it's good too for, you know, children to see that there's so many options. It just doesn't have to be a meat and a starch all the time. There's so many options out there as well with plant-based items. And I love vegetables. I remember when as my mom can probably relate, where I didn't eat a single vegetable, and look at me now, Mom. What's your favorite vegetable?
My favorite vegetable, I like potatoes.
Yeah.
I can do a lot with them.
Yep.
But I also like green beans, and my dad makes a really good dressing for them. We just like mustard, balsamic vinegar, and olive oil, and some shallots too. And they make them taste so good. I really like them.
Yum. That's funny you say that. I cooked for a bachelorette party in March, and I made so many different things, and the bride's favorite thing was my glazed green beans. And I was like, okay, happy bride. I'm happy if she's happy. It was awesome. All right, I'm just gonna cut a little more cabbage up here. And then we're gonna massage it with some salt. Awesome. Oh, this smells so good. I love cabbage. I love cooking cabbage down too, like little pancetta, cooking it down, a little garlic, little caraway seeds, to glaze it with a little wine. Oh, that's something I really, really like. So I'm just gonna take some kosher salt and I'm just gonna sprinkle that over the cabbage. I'm just gonna toss that together. The reason I did this first is because I wanna give it some time to really, give it some time to soften, right? Perfect. And you can always taste it. Like if you're not sure, if you're like, okay, am I using too much salt? Like taste one, and if it tastes super salty, you can always rinse it off while you have the opportunity. And also too, we're gonna have some liquid that comes back from this, and we can always drain it off as well. So I'm just gonna set that to the side. I'm gonna set this cute little cabbage to the side as well. We're gonna be using some edamame beans as well. Silly me though, I got shelled, but that's okay because we'll just shell them. So I'm just gonna throw these in some boiling water. We'll cook them for about 3 minutes, and then I'll just shock them in cold water just to cool them down so that Isla and I can handle them and shock them. So I'm just gonna throw those in. It's always good to try and keep as clean as you can with your station as well as you're working, having a little garbage bowl as you go. So this is something we always do in camp, right? Like I've always got a garbage bowl. I'm pretty serious about separating garbage because it's important, right? It's important for our environment and to be a good example for our families that, hey, it's important to take care of the earth environment because that's what takes care of us. So always in camp, we always separate all our garbage, and I think it's really important.
You also don't want to have like a garlic peel or an onion peel in the thing that you're eating. That's not very nice.
Nope. And I remember you guys with some of the boys where they didn't separate their garbage. And you guys were like, boys, not separating your garbage. See, and that's why we got to keep these girls around. All right, so what do we got next? So you're almost done there with the tofu. That's looking awesome. I'm all massaged here with the cabbage. I mean, the cabbage is getting the real treatment today. It's just getting massaged. Life's good. So we're gonna make a dressing once Isla's done. And this was something I did teach them in camp as well, is how to form an emulsification, which is a pretty cool thing. And basically like when you see dressing in the store and it's like, it's separated, right? The oil and the vinegar, you know, it is a nice natural dressing, but when you make dressing at home, you can emulsify it and you can save it and you can keep it for long periods of time in the fridge. And I make like liter dressing at a time. I mean, Chef Ali and I here in the kitchen, sometimes we make a giant liter of dressing and it lasts us forever. Okay. So you can grab that bowl and that whisk. Perfect. Now, I don't know if you remember from camp where we like secured our bowl.
I don't remember that, but.
So I'm gonna do that with you. I'm gonna like secure your bowl for you. And that's like something you can do at home. Like say you don't have Chef Isla with you at home, you're working solo, then you know, you're gonna need something to secure the bowl. So I'm gonna get you to scoop. We're just using some Dijon mustard here. So we're gonna scoop that in. And then I've also got some rice wine vinegar here, and rice wine vinegar is delicious. It's a little bit sweet. Oh, I love rice wine vinegar. I mean, great ingredient. And there's a little bit in, Chef Ali always puts a little bit in the rice as well for the sushi rice that we cooked ahead of time. We did cook that ahead of time. So basically all that's been done is we brought that rice up and we just added a little bit of rice wine vinegar into it, and that just kind of adds a little bit of flavor. So we're just layering flavors upon flavors upon flavors tonight. Awesome. And then I'm going to start putting in some oil, and that's how we're going to form the emulsification. So it's really important at the beginning to start super slow, and then as we get our emulsification going, we can kind of like pick it up a notch and go a little bit faster. And these like squeeze bottles work so good. You ever make salad dressing at home?
Yeah, I do. So we have we usually have salad with almost every meal, especially if we're having pasta. And so my dad makes dressing. He mixes. It's similar to the bean dressing. He does mustard and balsamic vinegar. He mixes that, and then he adds oil.
I just taught one of the girls who works here how to make salad dressing, and she was so proud this week. She's like, "Bria brought salad dressing in for our salads." I was like, "Yes, Sam, good job." I was so proud of her. And we want this to be fairly thick, but we also, the oil is the thickener here, right, as well as the mustard. And we want it to be fairly thick because that's what's going to coat a piece of lettuce as well. So if you're ever not sure if your dressing's thick enough, like say even taking a piece of cabbage, you like dip it in, and if it really holds like this, it's like you're in good shape. That looks awesome. So we're going to sprinkle, you want to sprinkle a little salt in there. And then we've got our peppermill. And always, sometimes people are like, my peppermill grinds so coarse. Just turn it at the top. Usually you can adjust it at the top, or sometimes it's at the bottom so that it's not so coarse. Especially if you're cooking for kids, you don't want them to get a big peppercorn and they're like, I didn't like that dressing, Mom or Dad. Okay, in your case, right? Mostly Dad. Both my parents love to cook. I'm super lucky. I get to spend a lot of time in the kitchen with them. I love it. And both my grandmas love to bake. That's where like the baking came from. And then, well, I've got Chef Ali, who's also our pastry chef here at Nella Cucina, so it makes a difference. Got some good pastry. Okay, so let's give it a little taste, just a tiny little bit. A little bit goes a long way. Yep, coming along. Throw it in there. That'll be our garbage bowl. Perfect. Yeah, of course. Throw them in. Absolutely. Awesome. So we're just going to use a little bit of that to dress our greens at the end, so we can just set that aside for now. And now we've got our soybeans too that should be finished. And we're just going to drain those off. Perfect. So I'm just going to, I got a slotted spoon here to take those out. And then we're going to shock them in some cold water and some ice. I love edamame beans. They are so good. Do you like sushi a lot?
I do. I really like sushi.
Me too. I love sushi. All right, and while I'm giving these a rinse, why don't you take a look at our next step and see what we're going to be working on next. I'm just going to grab some cold water and some ice for these.
Right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to chop up the rest of the vegetables that we're gonna put on the top of our poke bowls.
So we'll just let these guys kind of hang out well as they cool, and then we'll go back to shucking them shortly. Do you like oysters?
I never had oysters.
What? Oh my gosh, we gotta get this girl an oyster.
Absolutely.
Okay, we know what we're doing next. Love it. I mean, if you like sushi, I feel like for raw foods, I feel like you'd be pretty open to it. And I especially love like mignonette, and they always have like horseradish and mignonette and cocktail sauce and lemon. I mean, it's like you just build on oysters, or you can just have them straight up too, and that really gets you to taste all the flavor. So we've got some green onions. We've got some cucumber. How do you want to do the cucumber? I'll do one and you do one.
Okay, I'll do.
You can peel it into ribbons.
Oh, I'll try that. I've never done that.
Yeah, so you just, and sometimes when you get close to Persian cucumbers are really good for that because they don't have as many seeds, whereas like the big cucumbers are a lot more watery and seedy. So to do the ribbons, it's almost like a little bit easier with these guys. Everything for me is like a little guy in the kitchen. Like, this is just a little cucumber. And then I'm gonna do the avocado. Sometimes it can be a little tricky with avocado. So I like to do avocado where kind of twist it around the blade of the knife. Then I take the avocado and I twist it. Oh, perfect avocado. It's exciting. And then I take the heel of my knife and I just kind of put it into the seed. And then always be careful with the heel of the knife. I watched a really bad injury in school, so just be careful when you're doing that. Those look beautiful. Perfect. Got our avocado as well. And I'm just gonna make the little slices into it, but I'm not gonna cut it quite yet. I'm just making little dices into it. And then we've got some green onion as well, which you can kind of get creative with. I'm just going to trim some of the drier ends off the top, just a little bit. Again, we don't want to have a lot of waste, right? And teaching kids that you really don't want to waste much as well. It's important. We spend money on food, so to make it go as far as you can is a really important part of cooking. I mean, I've worked with chefs that, they see the waste in your garbage bin and they're not happy with you. And I'm sure maybe you caught me doing that once or twice with camp where someone was maybe not utilizing their ingredients to the best of their abilities. And sometimes we're lazy. Sometimes it's, just we're not sure how to cut things. So, not being sure how to cut things, it's always good if, hey, like we all have Google. So, it's something you can, get more information on and get comfortable with. Awesome. Those look great. I'm going to do maybe some chunks or a little something different. And breaking things down to what's like a comfortable size, right? Like that's something we talk about a lot in camp is just breaking stuff down to where you're comfortable with it. And, I think when you're cooking, especially with mom and dad in the kitchen and, especially where you cooking with dad so much, I'm sure he shows you a lot of tips to help you break things down because they want to always see you be comfortable, right? Want your little bowl?
Yeah.
She's back. No problem. This one. I'm just going to cut these ones in like little chunks. Right on. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to see how you cut one and then I'll maybe try something different. I don't know. Ooh, actually, I can even do, one of the restaurants I worked at, we used to cut them in little slices and shock them in cold water, and then we made a garnish for a lot of our dishes. You see how easy it is having all these prep bowls? Like, we're just layering all the stuff, like it's getting all ready for us for our bowls. And our fish is hanging out marinating, our tofu's all marinated. That's awesome. I love the bias. I'm gonna try. It's been a while since I've done onions like this, so I'm gonna try it. Having a sharp knife was always key. I remember being so upset when my knives would get dull and trying to do this trick. Has anyone in your family ever owned a restaurant before?
I don't think so.
Yeah?
Not that I know. Yeah.
Same here. I don't think I've had anyone in my family own one before. Lots of people who love to cook though. And then maybe you can chop those into bias as well, because I'm going to try and use more so the top end and then shock this in some cold water. All right. It's always good to have lots. That's why I always use big cutting boards too, right? It's nice to have lots of space on your cutting board. You don't want to be like chasing things around on your board. And we actually have our boards secured with anti-slip mats. I just buy them at the dollar store. We cut them up into size for the cutting boards in the kitchen. And it's a great thing to make sure you're using in the kitchen, especially if you're cooking with the kids in the kitchen. And that way the board doesn't go anywhere, because the last thing you want is a sharp knife and a slip. I'm gonna give you one more to chop. Yes, absolutely. Great question from the audience. Is the raw salmon safe to eat? Absolutely. And we are marinating it as well. So that soya, that salt as well. We're going to actually, you're almost like cooking a little bit with that salt that you have there as well. So almost like how you think of like ceviche gets cooked in the acid from the citrus, kind of same here thing. The salt is going to basically cook it a little bit for us. And as well, to always make sure you're buying the freshest fish possible. That is the number one thing you always want to look out for, making sure you're buying the freshest fish, or also looking for the term sushi grade on your fish as well is really important. All right, got our onions chopped up, so we can throw those in a bowl. Perfect. I'm going to throw these with a little ice and cold water, and hopefully the magic that I'm hoping for happens. If you're ever uncomfortable eating raw fish too, you could always cook it. There's nothing wrong with that. You could always just cube it up, cook it off diced, and you can do that as well. All right, awesome. So we're getting pretty prepped here, which is looking pretty good. Is there anything else we got to get before our carrot caviar?
I don't think so.
Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna get a little molecular next, which is super fun. Nice and white here. And for this, we're going to need a few different things. So I'm just going to slide a couple of our ingredients over for the moment. I've also got some like serving dishes on the side. I've got some chopsticks. So getting all that kind of stuff ready is good too. Awesome. All right. I've also got Kiki Mayo. If you've never had Kiki Mayo, it is like the rice wine vinegar of mayo. So typically you make mayo, with just like a white vinegar. Kiki Mayo is made with rice wine. It is delicious. So we're also going to drizzle a little bit of that on the side. I love it on poke bowls, and I'm sure if you've had poke bowls, you've seen it. Oh, you know what we can do that I forgot about is our garnish. We can cut up a little bit of the nori. And we've also got toasted black sesame seeds. We're going to use a little garnish as well. So do you remember how you cut yours? No, everyone did this different. Some people did like little strips, some people did like triangles, and we had this recipe serves 4, so you can get creative. Cool. What do you think you want to do to it?
Probably strips, I think.
Okay. I'll do something different. Maybe I'll do triangles. We love doing sushi too. The kids did sushi. We actually had, typically we used to do an Iron Chef day, and this is everyone's kind of had to accommodate their lives, during COVID. And we used to always do like an Iron Chef day where the kids would work in groups and create like a meal and then all eat together. So we had to get a little creative this year. So we did kind of like some picnic days where we would create something and take it to a park and enjoy it at the park. So we packed up sushi one day and took sushi over to the park, and sushi is a great thing to make as well. I think the hardest part is really the rice. Other than that, I mean, it's just having fun rolling whatever you like into it. Oh. Go. So I kept saying to Isla before we started, I'm like, it's live. Whatever happens, happens. Just roll with it, right? Have fun. I think your grandparents will be super happy to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be super fun. I'm gonna make some like little triangles, I think, and then we can like stick them in. Yeah, of course. Question.
Could you use lemon juice instead of vinegar? I believe for the Kiki Mayo.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like if you wanted to throw some lime zest in there, you could even throw some miso, a little bit of miso paste would go nicely in there. If you want to spice it up a little bit, throw some sambal in there and get it like nice and spicy. I mean, there's so much you could do with it for sure. I love making mayonnaise too. I love making aioli. Like I am obsessed with calamari. So I love to make calamari and make like a nice fresh aioli on the side. And always like fresh herbs and lots of lemon. I usually use lemon zest as well. And it's nice because all the essence of the lemon is in the rind, right? So if you can use the zest, I mean, that's where a microplane, that was the question in our virtual class earlier. What was the one tool I couldn't live without? And I was like, I need my knife and I need my microplane. Those are like two tools that I really like. What about you, Isla? What's like your go-to?
I think a spatula is definitely really useful. And I have this tool at home. It's called a fish slice. But when my dad told me about it, I thought he said a fish legs. So now we call it the fish legs at home.
The fish legs tool.
Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. Everyone's always got their inside jokes in the kitchen, and that's what makes it fun. Awesome. You're so fast. All right. So I've got all my little pieces. You've got yours. You can just throw them on this tray. It's so funny. We made togarashi spice this year, and we had to grind up all the seaweed. And I was like looking at it, I'm like, it looks like fish food. And it really did. It looked like fish food. Right. Okay. All right. So we're gonna kind of get molecular now. So for the carrot caviar, we are going to be using a couple molecular ingredients. We do sell these here at Nella Cucina, and this is through a company called Powder for Texture. I've personally worked with Chef John Placco, who creates this line, and he's incredible. He is a molecular gastronomy chef, and he's doing liquid nitrogen ice creams and taught me how to make these caviar pearls. And I mean, he's taught me how to make spears out of goat cheese, and he's just always kind of changing the wheel. He's actually got a restaurant in Pearson Airport as well. It's really cool. It's just kind of like changing the way food is. So we're going to be using sodium alginate and calcium chloride for this recipe. And having the right scale is important as well for this. Depending what decimal point you're looking to go to on your scale, you really want to make sure you have a scale that does that. Our recipe is pretty specific. Even one thing, we need 3.2 grams. So a scale that only goes by a gram, we need a decimal point. So that's what we're going to be working with today. Chef Ellie, may I please have some small ramekins, please? Thank you. We also have to rinse them out of their bath as well. And let me grab the carrot juice. I'm going to get you to give this a really good shape. That's just because it can settle to the bottom a little bit. So we just really want to make sure we give it a really good shape. So liquid and grams are pretty much very similar in their weight as well as in milliliters. So we're going to be measuring. So we said 250, right? So we're going to be pouring in how much is in here again. We've got 450 ml. So you're going to be pouring up to the 250. And we want to be pretty accurate with molecular cuisine as well. We're going to have to blend it up a little bit as well. Oh, no, I got you, girl. Oh, there it goes. I think.
Thank you.
Of course. Right. So we've got a nice little hand blender. If you don't have a hand blender, just like a regular blender works as well, just fine. Oh, and you know what I didn't grab, Allie, was the sugar for this recipe. I just need 2 grams of sugar. Perfect. Wonderful. Yeah. And that would, like, leftover carrot juice you could easily use for a smoothie, or you could add it to, say, like you're making like butternut squash soup or something. So don't ever feel like you had to buy it. And you can even use mango juice for this if you want it. So there's definitely options. All right. And these little espresso spoons are perfect for measuring stuff out. So We always want to make sure it's, we're going to tear it. So when we put it on, the ramekin on, we want it back to 0. And then we're going to put, so I think we use 2 grams of sugar there. So you can put the 2 grams in. And you can just start like little by little, and then once you hit 2, and if you go over it, don't stress, we're going to take it away. Take this one. Switch that. Perfect. There we go. Awesome. So that's going to be our sugar. All right. And then how much do we need of the sodium alginate? We need 2 grams again. 2 grams again. Perfect. So you know what you're doing there. Nice. Another little spoon for you there. It's good too not to mix the spoons if possible, just because they're all different ingredients. It's funny, like different weights for different powders, right? That one we're gonna have so more lighter. It's exactly so much lighter. Perfect. Scotch. Oops. I know. Sometimes it's funny like that. Oh my gosh. I know. It's so accurate. Sometimes it's too accurate. There we go. It can be annoyingly accurate. Awesome. And then we're also going to need our calcium chloride, which is going to be, I believe, 3.2 that we're going to need for that. And I'm going to get us 500 ml of water as well, cold water. And this one's even different looking. Yeah. And this is going to be the setting bath, the calcium chloride. So that's what we're going to use. So we've got a little squeeze bottle as well, and that's how we're going to drop the pearls in to create the little caviar balls. So close. Perfect. Awesome. All right, so we get that out of the way. Turn it off. All right, so we're gonna mix the sugar with the sodium alginate. So you can combine sodium alginate and the sugar together and just mix them together. And again, I've got lots of little spoons here. I'm gonna pour the carrot juice into our container here. This is a super fun recipe. I mean, this is something that, you know, these ingredients last quite a long time as well, like the sodium alginate and calcium chloride, they last a long time. So this is something you could make like a project to play with the kids. I mean, even oysters, I talked about oysters. We used to make pearls at some of the restaurants I worked at. We made like lime pearls that we would put on top of the oysters. And I mean, you get so creative. I've always wanted to make like a Caesar, like the drink, the Caesar. I've always wanted to make like Caesar pearls and like put them on an oyster because I thought like it'd be so fun to do something like that. All right, so we've got our carrot juice here, and then we also need to mix now our calcium chloride into the, so this one we're gonna just stir in. So we're just gonna mix that together. Yeah, of course. Just give that a really good mix there. We're just kind of looking for that to dissolve, basically. Just want it to be all dissolved so that the entire contents are all combined. Just takes a little arm work, a little muscle. All that baking, I'm sure you've got that covered. Wrist muscle. Yep, you got it, you got it. And I know you are so excited for this part of the recipe where you're like, now we're firing the carrot juice. We're gonna fire. She's like, is this recipe right that we're gonna fire the carrot juice? And I'm like, yeah, girl, that's right. We're gonna fire it in there. So I've also got a funnel handy for when we're gonna fire that in there and get ready for that step. All right, and then for our next part, we're just basically, we have to mix the liquid with this, correct? So just make sure I'm on the right page here with a low speed. You're gonna drizzle, or not drizzle, I should say, kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Sometimes I'm just lost for words. Sprinkle, there we go. Oops. Just gonna sprinkle it. So I just wanna make sure it's on low because I don't wanna put it in there and just, It's kind of like my earlier in the other class I did. I had orange juice everywhere. It's live TV, people. Happens. Okay. You're gonna sprinkle that in there. Now that I found the right word. You got every last drop, right? That's a true baker right there.
That's where we are in the recipe.
All right, so we just mixed the powder and it's all absorbed by the liquid with the immersion blender. So we're gonna strain it through a small strainer and then we're gonna pour it into the squeeze bottle. And the reason for that is you might get some little chunks in it, but we just wanna give it a good strain. And you can already see it's thickened, eh?
Yeah.
You kind of see that like gelatinous is already starting to happen. And then we'll just push it through. I remember, Isla, too, when we met, you were talking about a dish that your dad makes for, it's like a Scottish Heritage Day or something.
Yeah, it's called Burns Night, which I think it's about this like poet dude. I don't really know what it is. But basically, he gets haggis and he gets really into it because he's very proud of being Scottish. And so we have haggis, and it's definitely not my favorite thing.
No.
It's like lambs inside and stuff like that.
Yep.
So, not my favorite thing, but he really likes it.
But you eat it?
Maybe.
Does your brother eat it?
I don't know. He's also very proud of being Scottish.
Is
so,
he?
Yeah,
Oh
he
my
is.
God, that's so cute. I love it. That's awesome. And you have family right now in the UK. You've got family in Israel right now.
In Israel, yeah.
Amazing. That's awesome. And you've traveled, you said you've been to Turkey, you've been to Israel.
I've been to Turkey, Israel. I've been a bunch of places.
Yeah. Where else have you been?
I've been to some places in the Caribbean, and I've also been to like Italy, France when I was younger.
Oh wow, awesome.
And recently, because Turkey is kind of close to where my grandparents are, so we like meet them halfway there.
Nice.
So that's where we've gone outside the country. So
nice. I love Turkish food too. Turkish food is so good. I love it. Like all the kebabs and oh my God, the barley salad they make is like one of my faves. Love it. There's actually a really good Turkish place not too far from me. It's like a charcoal grill place. It is so good. Like the kebab is just so good. And they have like a beautiful stone oven there, fired like their own breads, and oh my God, it's so good. Actually, Chef John Sinopoli joined my partner and I there, and we had an amazing meal. It was so good. We were like so excited. Like we're just like chef to chef. We love like showing these places off. So we were like super pumped to meet him there for dinner one night. It's always fun. Those are looking so cool. And they'll set up in there and then we'll give them a strain and just a little rinse and that'll kind of be, whoops, flying soybeans. Oh my God, I remember once I was with my friend Paul at a sushi restaurant and I literally flew an edamame bean across the restaurant. I was so embarrassed. And then we were just dying of laughter. And oh my God, he's like a big sushi buddy of mine. We love sushi. And actually there's another place not far from that Turkish place that it's just called Sumo Boy Sushi. It is, their sushi rolls are like this. They are massive. It's almost like embarrassing. Like it's not somewhere I'd want to go, like say on a first date or recommend someone to go on a first date because you were just like
shove it all in your mouth.
Oh my God, you're like, yeah, it's embarrassing. Like, but it is so good. And they have like some Korean rolls, and then as well as a bunch of Japanese rolls, and they are so good. I'm definitely a big sushi fan like you. Sushi is so good. Is that something you've tried making at home, especially after
yeah, I have made it at home a couple times.
Yeah.
I've only made it with like cucumber and avocado because I haven't been able to find some of the other ingredients that I like to have in them, but they're pretty good.
Well, if you ever need any recommendations for fresh fish, I can definitely help you out. Okay. Because I do a lot of shopping in this area for classes. Right. Perfect. So I got all those edamame beans done. I can get rid of these into the food waste. A little more work, but nothing wrong with that. So we're just going to clear out some space here and kind of get ready to start. Thank you, Allie. My hands behind the scene, always. Love her. And I've got the sushi rice. Chef Ali always does this with the rice, a little bit of a damp paper towel on top and then saran wraps it. With sushi rice, even like you really, when you're eating it, it shouldn't be cold. Even sushi, right? It shouldn't be cold. It should still have that, you know, room temperature feel to it. You don't want it to be cold. The fresher the sushi, the more room temp, if not warm, the rice is. So, and you don't have, I mean, we're kind of just using a standard bowl today, but you can use whatever you like. I mean, half the time I'm eating poke bowls out of a takeout container, so I'm definitely not too bothered by however it comes. Perfect. Looking good. It makes a good amount too, so yeah, you could definitely have a lot. You can, because the balls are so small. They are. So you can make so many. Don't feel like you have to go all the way if you don't want to. All right, so I think we are almost there. So I'm gonna also toss a little bit of the greens with just a bit of that salad dressing that we made as well. So I've just got that salad dressing hanging out. We're gonna use a little of that. We've also got our Kiki Mayo here that we made in advance as well. Looking good there, and like, smell like rice wine in there. Yeah. Vinegar. It's nice. It adds a nice acidity, and like it's got a great touch, and I love that aspect of it. Oh yeah. Did you ever make the poke bowls at home?
No, I didn't make them at home, but
yeah.
I had poke bowls.
Yeah. Do you have like a favorite spot that you go for them?
No, but me and my friend who've gone out before, there's a place on College Street called Mojito, which is really good. So we've gone there.
Love it. Okay, so I think I'm gonna grab the fish. And you can always garnish, like if you have more tobiko, you can always garnish with it as well. Have some fun with it. It smells so good. Love. Sesame oil is just like, even edamame, like I'll just toss it in salt and a little bit of the toasted sesame oil, and like that to me is, oh, it's so good. We have a little bit of that reserved sauce as well that we can kind of drizzle on as well with our poke bowls. And we've got all of our ingredients laid out. I just need to spoon out the avocado. I'm looking back at this cutest little cabbage ever. Isla's dad wants to know if she's bringing a poke bowl home. We can definitely arrange that. Absolutely. Dad's getting hungry. Do you know what was on the menu at home today? Or you said your brother was having something?
Yeah, I don't know. It was probably like pasta or something.
Yeah.
It's really easy to make, but I'm not sure.
Do you have a favorite pasta that you like to have?
Well, I really like lasagna. Ooh. And also, my dad, he makes like a pasta with ham, cheese, and cream. And it's really good.
Oh, that sounds, Chef Ali's just going like, oh yeah.
So good. I love that pasta.
Me too. So Chef Ali, our pastry chef, she is Italian as well. So like pasta, Chef Ali does a lot of our pasta classes as well. And they're always, our pasta classes sell out so quickly. I mean, they're so much fun, and it's nice. Like we do like a BYOB environment and like do a date night so people can bring their wine, they make pasta with their partner, and it's a lot of fun. It's you can encourage your dad to come check out a class sometime. Bring mom for a class. Does mom have a dish that she makes that's like her go-to, or?
Well, so she doesn't like cook the main meal so much, my dad, but she does cook, and she likes to cook sometimes. So she makes like these breakfasts for my brother, and she makes scrambled eggs. I don't know what she puts in them, but they're really good.
Yeah, secret scrambled eggs. You gotta have secrets too. Like you can't give it all away, right? I'm sure even your drop biscuits that your grandma makes, like she might give you the recipe, but does she give you the recipe? You know, right?
Yep. Just gotta keep those secrets.
Yeah, I gotta keep those secrets. Right. So I've got the sushi rice here, and I'm just gonna kind of plate a little bit of that in the bottom of each roll. And what I like to do is just kind of like make a little bit of a line so I know where I'm dividing up so that each portion is equal. Really don't want more than half a cup in this because there's a lot to these. So I mean they're quite filling. This is just kind of going to be our base on the bottom here. Nice, sticky, warm rice. Yeah. Up a little bit. Even just the rice smells good. Like there's so much awesomeness going on here. Top them all up a little bit. So sticky.
How do you make the sushi rice?
Ooh, Chef Ali, this is like your specialty, so I'd love you to kind of dive in here.
So the main important thing to remember about making sushi rice is that it does need to be rinsed to the point where the water that's coming off of the rice is completely clear. Because it is a short grain rice and it does have a high starch content, you really do want it to be as least starchy as possible, because when you cook the rice, the more starch that there is in the rice, the more it's going to stick together, and you really do want it to be in its own kernels. So the ratio for water to rice would be 1 cup of dry rice to 1 1/4 cups of water. You're going to bring it up to a boil, then put a lid on it, and then bring it down to a simmer for 15 minutes. And then you're going to let it stand off heat for another 10 minutes. And then you transfer that to a bowl with a damp towel over it, wrapped in saran, and you just bring it to room temperature. You're going to season it with about 3 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar. And that's also going to help break up the rice grains so that they're very individual and it's not a large mass of rice.
She is definitely the sushi rice god over in this department. How you doing there, Ella?
Pretty good. The bottle is almost empty, but I made a lot so far.
Also got a super fun watermelon radish that I'd love to like just put a slice on as well. And I'm just gonna take this dressing. I don't need a lot of it, and it's something that, like, again, that's something like even your dad is saying, right, that you could use to make for dressing for beans and other things. So we're just looking to lightly, and this arugula is so delicate, so I don't want to kill it with too much dressing because it's gonna become too heavy. This arugula is so delicate. And the other thing I like to say too is like make sure you season like your cucumbers a little bit and season, like we seasoned the cabbage, like everything should be like lightly seasoned just because it's all going to pair together so nicely. I like to just put a little bit of cream on. And I'm going to let you kind of have some fun like getting plating here. We're going to do 2 tofu, I think, maybe two fish, and then we've got some options. We could showcase the different ones. And then I can rinse the caviar. All right, so I'm gonna lay it out. So we've got our fish. Oh yeah, and this I like to put, so this is our sesame, and just to like drizzle a little bit of this kind of around the plate. Especially near the rice, because this is the dressing that we reserved from the beginning, that we also marinated about 1/3 of it went into the fish. Oh yeah. Beautiful. Okay. So if you're good there, I'll rinse them. Yeah, these look awesome. So you can see there all the pearls that Chef Isla's made. They look awesome. It's kind of crazy because it's carrot. Yeah. So, girlfriend, have some fun here with what you want to plate. I mean, I want to see your culinary expertise kind of come to play here and have some fun. I know it's a little busy with all of our ingredients here. Let's get you in front and center here. We've got all our fun seaweed. We've got lost one. That's okay. Live TV people. This we'll use very last. We'll use this as kind of like our last garnish. And are we missing anything? Because I feel like we've got so much of it.
Yeah. I think we have everything.
I think we have everything? Cool. So I'm going to give these a rinse, and then you guys can kind of check out how, and feel free to plate them differently if you want. If you want to move stuff around, do whatever you want. I'll give these a rinse. You just want to rinse off the calcium chloride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
foods to dish up everything.
I'm just gonna put these in the fridge while we get that together. Want me to do 2 tofu ones? Oh, you know what? And let me get this Kiki Mayo, and because what we're gonna want to do is like drizzle it right across. So we'll grab a squeeze bottle. Thank you, Allie. Oh yeah, and I was gonna just showcase a little bit of this watermelon radish as well. Have you ever had a watermelon radish before?
I don't think so. Is it like a white kind?
It's got, so it's pretty cool inside. It's like almost looks like a watermelon inside.
Yeah, I've seen them. I don't think I've ever had them, but I've definitely seen them.
I'm just gonna try and slice them super thin. And they can just be like a little garnish. And again, like whatever, you know, if you have some stuff you want to use up in the fridge, like you can just do a little slice in them and make them like. Throw them in there for a little fun. Cabbage. Getting hungry yet?
Kinda, yeah.
We both get hangry, so it's really important that we're fed before and after this, because if not, nobody wants to be around us. So just making sure we get fed. That looks awesome.
Hangry is definitely me.
Yeah, that's kind of my middle name. Hangry and impatient, probably. We have these sesame seeds.
So
Oh, I guess you do. We got so much stuff here. I just can't see anymore. Want to sprinkle some of those on? Yeah. Perfect. And I'll put our Kiki Mayo in here. Yeah. No funnel. Let's hope for the best. Just winging it. Awesome. Drizzle it right across if you want. Yeah, beautiful. Awesome. And then we grab our pearls. I'll let you scoop those on. Awesome. Looks great. This is such a colorful dish too. It's so fun.
Nice.
Awesome. Let's check it out. Right on. That looks beautiful. I love it. That looks awesome. So cool. You can really have so much fun with this. I mean, again, like sometimes I like corn, like if corn's in season, I'll put corn on the poke bowls. Sometimes I use cherry tomatoes. Any other ingredients you can think you'd throw on here?
Like the place that I like to do most, they put mango on it.
Oh,
and it's really good because it's colorful and it's also really crunchy. So it gives like a
and sometimes they have like crab too. I like where they put like the artificial crab on. I'm like, I don't know, guilty pleasure that stuff. Like
pickled onions.
Yeah, pickled onions are really, really good too. So like you can have so much fun with this dish, and like I think this is the perfect thing. Let's put a tofu one together too, so we can see a tofu one. Right. Yeah. Maybe like I can lay some of these in. These are great snacks too. I mean, so healthy, so good for you. Put some of those in. Yeah, we have our green onions too. See like how they kind of like curl up there? So we can use those as like a little garnish. You can just kind of see the onions there, like they really curled up, so we can use those for a garnish too. Tofu one looks good too. And especially because we have some of that sauce reserved, because the tofu is just like a sponge. It just doesn't stop absorbing. So you can even take like some of that remaining dressing and just kind of like drizzle it over the tofu. And it'll just kind of bring it back to life a little bit. Yeah. Oh, I like that. The ribbons look so nice. Yeah. Oh, here, you want to put them on a little, so you can see the contrast of them. Maybe like put them on there. I always think too, like contrast is so huge because we eat with our eyes first. Like a nice little pile of that. Beautiful. And even cut some of these radishes up and just like little julienne. Just fun to get creative. Yeah. It's like, do you feel like an artist a bit right now?
Kind of like a bit of this, a bit
Yeah,
of that.
a little Picasso for food. These underneath. Some color. Beautiful. Are we missing anything? Got some green onions on there.
Yeah.
Not on that one. Perfect. That's those babies. You could even add a couple shreds if you wanted in there, like for a little more texture at the front. Then you've got like two different styles there. And then we've got, oh, you know what? Let's do this last so we have a contrast of that. Let's put some colors on. Oops. It's all good. And always toast your sesame seeds or buy them toasted if you can, because it just brings out so much more of the flavor. Just like the sesame oil we were using, like if it's toasted, you get a lot more flavor from it. So awesome. There's one with tofu there that we've got as well. That looks awesome. So we're really just going to keep on building here. We're going to hang out for a little bit, keep on building. We'd love if you guys have any questions for us. Please don't hesitate. I mean, there's so many amazing recipes out there that I think are great. Bring your kids into the kitchen. Get them cooking with you, have some fun. This is something that is so important. I mean, nourishment, like we said, we get hangry. Why do we get hangry, right?
Because we're hungry.
We're hungry. Our body's telling us like, you need fuel. So when we need fuel, we gotta eat. If we don't eat, then our bodies aren't happy with us. So making sure we're well fed throughout the day. I mean, I start every day with like a chia pudding. That's like my breakfast. I always start with chia pudding in the morning and lots of different berries and nuts, and I find it like super filling. What do you start your day with?
I like have eggs sometimes, or toast a lot, or if I'm feeling like fancier, some French toast, and also if I have the time, I'll have French toast.
Nice.
But sometimes you just don't have the time in the morning to eat something.
It's true. We don't always have the time we're hoping for in the mornings, but and that's why I make chia and it lasts me for like the week. I'll make like a few days at a time. And I put like passion fruit and blueberries and gooseberries. I'm obsessed with passion fruit.
I love passion fruit.
Me too. It is so good.
So we got two questions.
Yeah.
Which tofu did you use, firm or extra firm? And then I'm allergic to rice. Do you have any other suggestions for substitutes?
Yeah, for sure. So I used firm tofu today, but I did press it. So the trick for that is basically what I did is I wrapped it in a towel and I put a weight on it and I let it sit and it basically soaked the towel in the excess moisture from the tofu. So even if you can't find extra firm will do the trick, and you just really want to press it if you can, and that will help get rid of any additional moisture so that when you do go to searing, and that's why like I was saying, you'll get a lot of spitting if you're using too high of a temperature, not the right oil, and if the tofu is too wet. So that's kind of the trick that I use so that I don't get too much spitting and that it stays nice and firm. And as well, we kind of want it to emulate meat, right? So having that texture by pressing it is really important. And like for the rice, like, I mean, you could totally substitute it with almost any grain. I mean, you could easily sub a quinoa, you could use a barley. I mean, honestly, whatever grain that is kind of your go-to, to me, it's kind of just like the holder at the bottom of this dish. So you could really have some fun with it and play around, and you might experiment with it and find something that you really like. Yeah, it's like yellow.
As well, you can use just your greens and your cabbage as your base as well if you want to go completely grain-free.
Absolutely. You could definitely go grain-free. I've actually been right now taking a holistic nutrition course, and it's like fascinating learning so much about beans, and that, you know, we actually need to consume some sort of grain with our beans, or it can be really hard on our digestive system. And there's so much I'm learning right now with how our bodies process food and all the different nutrients and how they benefit our bodies. It's incredible. So you don't, forgoing rice is absolutely no problem. And maybe, hey, maybe if you do gluten, you could always put orzo or something in there. It'd be nice and filling and very similar to a rice as well. I love orzo.
Couscous is also great.
Yeah, couscous is great. And all these things are just vehicles, right? For like whatever you want to add to it. So you can really have some fun with it and kind of do whatever you want. Yeah, going in for the garnish. Love it. Do you want a watermelon radish?
Yeah.
Another question. What other kind of dishes do you think are easy to get kids involved with?
Ooh, Isla, do you have a little, I mean, especially having a younger brother at home, like you said, pasta is an easy one.
Yeah.
And maybe sneaking is it like sneaking veggies in there that help, or
also like I think if you have the time and like the things to do with it, if you make homemade pasta, that's really fun, I think, for younger kids because they can like do stuff with their hands and stuff. Also, like pancakes, my brother really likes to make, so he likes those. So there's like lots of mixing and stuff, but that's just stuff that they can do.
yeah, and I think getting kids involved is a huge part of getting them to want to try things. The more you get them involved in the kitchen, the more likely they are to be wanting to try what you're creating. I'm sure there's many things where you've been like, what are you guys making? What are you doing? Where you're like, I want to try that. And the more we try too, the more our palates grow and the more we're open to like hearing that you love sushi and you love Turkish food and like you love, all these different foods and cuisines. I mean, that's a huge part of, being a kid is trying new things and experimenting. And I mean, we're not going to love everything. It's just the nature of the beast. You're not going to love everything. I mean, even before I went to culinary school, there were so many things I didn't eat. I didn't eat shrimp. I didn't eat goat cheese. I didn't drink red wine. I didn't like beer. Like I was so picky. And then I remember in our seafood class, like the chef just threw a crab at me and made me cook it. And then I had to rip its back off and start deconstructing it. And I was, and then I made it into crab cakes. And I was like, that's the best crab cake ever. And I worked really hard for that crab. I had to take that entire thing apart. It took me forever. It's my first time doing it. Yeah. My partner was 6'4" and too afraid to kill a crab. And I just remember taking the crab, throwing it in the water and being like, hey, we have to do this. This is our grades on the line here. Like, we got to do this. So just being, adventurous and just kind of going for it and trying is a really important part, at least for me, I think, as well, for families and food.